Mr. Foster, you are now recognized for 5 minutes.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair, and to our witnesses. Well, first off, I'd like to second the comments of my colleague, Representative Dr. Mark Green, on the letter that was recently sent from this committee providing for ongoing real-time bipartisan oversight of Operation Warp Speed by the Government Accountability Office, the GAO. With Dr. Green and myself as the bipartisan points of contact, directing the GAO of points of interest to the committee. In my time in science, I was involved in billion-dollar research projects that were subject to GAO oversight. They would bring in outside experts, they'd ask hard questions, and they report back to Congress the truth as they see it. Both from a technical and scientific point of view and also a project management point of view, which can often be critical. GAO is fastidiously nonpartisan. They will give us real-time briefings, staff briefings and member briefings, and periodic reports on the progress of vaccine and therapeutic manufacturing under Operation Warp Speed. But they will only give us briefings on a bipartisan basis, which I think is very valuable, because it will be crucial that people believe when vaccines and therapeutics become available that the process was not politicized, that we actually have bipartisan agreement that reasonable decisions, free of conflicts of interest or political intrusion, are being made. And the GAO is intent on not becoming a tool for partisan advantage, which really helps our government work better. So an example of the sort of thing that I'm interested in having them look into is something I was discussing with Dr. Redfield over the break, which is a monoclonal antibody therapeutic manufacturing. There's a lot of the good news is that there is, in fact, a strong immune response to this virus by the human immune system. This means, among other things, that vaccines are more likely than not to work, and it also means that antibody therapeutics are more likely than not to work, as they have against recent viruses. So we may be in this position where, there's a miracle cure that can then prevent or cure COVID-19, but we do not have the manufacturing to meet the demand, especially given the ongoing flare-up of COVID-19 in our country. And so that you can imagine the politics of that will become extremely fraught rapidly when we have to decide how to dispense this potentially life-saving therapeutics. And so it's also a circumstance in which aggressive project management may be crucial. You can imagine if you want to produce the maximum number of antibodies, you may say, okay, we are going to choose the most effective antibody from company A. We are going to produce it using the optimized cell lines from company B, and we're going to use the high volume production equipment on company C. This will require things like the Defense Production Act being used at their fullest to just leapfrog around issues of things like intellectual property. Already the companies that are optimizing cell lines are getting into patent fights and so on. We don't have time for that. And so one of the things I'd like the GAO to look into is to make sure that we have in advance the sort of project management, that the contracts that are being made with all of these companies anticipate this, or that discussions for the applications of the Defense Production Act, are actually taking place ahead of when they'll be needed. It's just one of many examples there. And so I just want to encourage, both of you and HHS generally to greet with open arms the GAO oversight. They can, it's not always fun being subject to GAO oversight, but their questions actually make the projects better. And so also, I think you've probably been involved with projects that have been involved with GAO oversight, and so there's a career-long association of the GAO personnel and the agencies they represent, and so that it's not like you're getting a letter from Congress where you just kind of roll your eyes and try to do the minimum. These are serious questions by professionals. So when Dr. Green and I intend to use that to provide real bipartisan information to this committee and to Congress and to the American people about what's really happening, and I think that will be crucial. So any of you, and do you have any comments on other things that we can do to really make the public confident that the right decisions are being made for the right reasons in this?
Well, thank you for that, Congressman Foster. Yes, I mean, the fact is that we are very transparent in what goes on in Operation Warp Speed. I have been...
Well, but there have been public comments by the scientists, the active collaboration, which was set up by HHS. Some of the scientists involved in that said, I have no idea what's behind one of the Operation Warp Speed decisions.
Right. So in direct answer to your question, I think you brought up a good point about the monoclonal antibodies. We didn't get an opportunity to mention this in any of the questions, but monoclonal antibodies, just this week, there were 2 trials that have been initiated, one on an outpatient basis for early patients, one on an inpatient for more advanced patients, which we really have a lot of anticipation that that is going to be something that is going to be an important tool in the armamentarium of how we treat COVID-19 patients. So I wanted to get that in because I think that's really important. Regarding the scrutiny of a GAO or otherwise, I have been, in the many years that I've been doing this, had many GAO looking into the things I've done. In fact, I have found it in many respects very helpful.
Thank you. Yield back.